In this video, I combine a bunch of different Ninjago sets to make an all-new dragon for a character who really deserves one. This is Arin, one of the latest additions to the ninja team in Ninjago. He's one of the main characters of the new show Ninjago Dragons Rising, but he's unfortunately been underrepresented in the sets. He had a small part in a much bigger Lloyd mech, a 4+ set made for very young kids, a little gimmick flyer, and most recently, a Buggy that's actually pretty cool, but it's just terribly overpriced. Personally, I think Arin deserves way more than this. He's only had one set so far that's truly about him. The others were just part of a larger set, or incredibly small. Earlier this year, I did make Arin a full-size mech to match all of the other ninja, but now I also want to make him something that's uniquely his own. Looking back at his current sets, there is one part that stuck out to me. Arin's little mech in the Lloyd set uses a mechanical dragon head for the cockpit. That's a really cool part that fits that build perfectly, but what if I could turn that head into a full actual dragon? Mech dragons are something we've seen a few times before in Ninjago. Lloyd had one in the Lego Ninjago movie, Jay had one, and Unigami was one in Prime Empire, and then there was also the Ninjago Mech Dragon in 2014, which I did buy recently, but haven't built yet. If all these other characters can have mech dragons though, why can't Arin? So I set out to make one just for him. To make the building process extra fun though, I limited myself to only using the parts from a select few sets. Of course I had to use Lloyd and Arin's Ninja Team mechs for that dragon head, but I thought it would be fun to use every single other Arin set as well. So I got 2 copies of Arin's Off-Road Ninja Buggy Car, 2 copies of Arin's 4+ mech, and 2 copies of Arin's Rising Dragon Strike. Finally, I picked out one last set outside of Ninjago. I felt it was the last piece needed to make this truly work. The Mighty Azure Lion from Lego Monkey Kid. The main reason for this was simple. The set came with more bright orange jaw pieces which would fit with the dragon head. Beyond that though, the set does use a good bit of bright orange which could be useful for detailing, and I felt an extra set of mech joints would be helpful, as I wasn't sure that Lloyd's mech would have enough for an entire dragon. The sets used in this video were provided to me by the LEGO group through the LEGO Ambassador Network. Thank you very much, LEGO, I love you. But of course the idea, the custom build, and any opinions expressed are entirely my own. So the first thing I started on was the head. I of course was using the mech cockpit piece for the top jaw, and the bottom jaw came from the Monkey Kid set. However, I'm not really a fan of when the official sets just use these ugly, out-of-place parts to connect the 2 jaws, so I wanted to make the head seem a little more complete. I built onto the jaw connection a little bit, added these triangular slope pieces to be cheeks, and climbing hooks as horns in the top of the head. The climbing hooks are for 2 reasons. Number 1, it just looks really cool, kinda like a miniature version of the Source Dragon of Motion who uses the big climbing hooks for her horns. But number 2, Arin's main accessory is a grappling hook, and in the show, Sora was inspired by it to create the climbing hooks. I like to imagine that Sora built this mech dragon for Arin, so it only makes sense that it would include these. Plus, they're detachable accessories for the minifigure too. With the full head though, I would have loved to do a fully brick-built back of the head, like the Source Dragon of Motion and Lloyd's Legendary Dragon do. But I also knew I had limited parts for this challenge, and I didn't want to run out of pieces for the body or the legs. So I decided to leave the head as is, and I would come back to it later on if I had enough leftover parts where I thought I could make it work. And spoilers for later in the video, I did not. I did build a nice little neck section with an SCCBS armor piece though, and I love the shape it creates with the back of the head. But now it was time to move on to the main bulk of the build, the body. I sat and stared at my big pile of pieces for a while, trying to think of the best way to do things. But then I had an idea. Arin's Buggy uses the big, like 5-wide Speed Champions car body piece. What if I could also use that for the body of a dragon? On a regular dragon, that might be a little awkward or weird, but on a mech dragon, I think that might actually work. So I planned out a body using that piece, making space for the neck and front legs at the front and the tail and back legs at the back. I could put paneling at the sides and then just use bricks to connect the front and the back. But then I got another idea. What if I used the windshield from Arin's Buggy as the dragon's back? It's trans-orange, so it would give the build a cool, like, futuristic look. And of course, it's also the perfect size to fit with the car body that I'm using. So I tried it out, and it actually worked great. I also added the ability for it to hinge open and left the body of the dragon hollow so minifigures could be seated inside. I also put together a little console as well as the backs of chairs to keep them comfortable. I still wanted Arin to have the focus though. I mean, this is his dragon, I'm sure he'd appreciate not being hidden away inside. I decided to build him a saddle, or actually more of a throne to put on the dragon's back. It's got little exhausts to keep the mechanical look, and enough room to see Arin with his armor. And now it was time for the... hello Sensei Wu, what are you doing here? Hey guys, it's me, Sensei Wu. I just wanted to come out here and ask you guys to please leave a like on this video and subscribe to the channel if you're new. You know, Bricks by Mind really puts a lot of time into these custom build videos, both in terms of the actual build and the editing. So if you like this kind of content and you want to see more, liking and subscribing would probably do a lot to help support the channel, and it would also probably help the algorithm show you his videos more often. So yeah, that's me, Sensei Wu, that's all I had to say. Goodbye now. Wow, thank you, Sensei Wu, for, saying that. You sound exactly like you do in the show. I really appreciate you coming out here and speaking to the audience like that. And you know what, guys? He did make a pretty good point. But now that interruption out of the way, let's get back to what I was talking about, the legs of the build. Starting with the front legs, I used the SCCBS limb pieces as a base, though I built off them to try to make them look more unique. I added these large armor pieces from Arin's Buggy and some red lights to break up the color a little bit and also to remind everyone that yes, this is a mech dragon. The feet that I built here are weird. Frankly, I don't know how to talk you through my thought process here. I wanted a place to store extra swords for Arin, and I thought it would be cool to include them here. And since this isn't an organic dragon, I felt that I could go a little wackier and a little more abstract as long as it still held the dragon up, which it does. Coming to the back legs, I put together what is simultaneously my favorite and least favorite part of this build. I once again used SCCBS limbs, but connected them on rigid Technic joints. I wanted to cover these up to make them look a bit nicer, so I used the dragon heads from the gimmick set. This is an idea I had before I even started building, so I'm so happy that I could pull it off. On the one hand, I think it ended up looking great. It gives an incredibly unique shape to the dragon and covers up the joint fairly well. On the other hand though, this has to be the least versatile piece I have ever worked with. I tried so many different approaches to get this attached, and this is what worked the best, but the connection still feels very clumsy. For the feet here, I actually built them backwards and they're able to be rotated. So when the dragon is standing, it sort of has toes that face forward, but when it's in flight, you rotate them around and they serve as thrusters instead. The tail of the dragon is simple, it's just a big gold blade piece and it's able to move around on a ball joint. And finally, to end things off, I wanted to add a little bit more to the front. I used 2 mech cockpit pieces as shoulders for the dragons to help cover it up a little bit more, attached 2 big cannons so Arin would have a way to go on the offensive, some pipes to serve as exhausts and again keep things feeling very mechanical, and lastly, the wings from the gimmick sets. I thought these worked surprisingly well, with the transparent aspects giving this a very high-tech, futuristic look, similar to the windshield piece on the back. And there we go, that is the final mech dragon complete. Now Arin is ready to take on any bad guys that get in his way, he can fly around and take 2 passengers with him. I'm honestly super proud of how this turned out. This is the 3rd custom dragon I've built on this channel, but I think it's easily the best. That's for a few reasons. Number 1, this is a mech dragon, so I don't really have to get caught up in trying to make things feel organic. And I also think I picked a much better group of sets to pull parts from. They just all came together to build a dragon a lot better. But I think most importantly, my building skills have also improved over the years, and I'm really glad I was able to put this together. If I wasn't doing a building challenge and I just had unlimited parts, there's not a ton I would do different. I would have liked to change the legs up a little bit, maybe make the feet a little more deliberate, and create more posability, because the range of motion is definitely the weakest part of this build. Still, the build is very stable, and I think it looks super cool, and that's of course the most important thing. But now it's up to you guys. Let me know in the comments what you think of this build. Also, let me know, what kind of custom Ninjago build do you want to see me do next? I set a goal for myself to make some sort of build using every single Ninjago set released this year, and so far I've covered a good chunk, but there's still a few more to go, so if you have any ideas, I'd love to hear them in the comments. But as for this video, I think that's about all I have to say. So, thanks for watching everybody, I hope you all enjoyed. If you did, make sure to leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you're new. Thanks for watching everybody, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye!